disappeared at the rate of about one a day.
Who the hell keeps a ledger of somebody else's toilet paper use?
He's going to use whatever he wants. He's going to do whatever he wants. I'm done with this.
It's time to end this charade because I've bitten my tongue for far too long.
All right, rolling.
WilliamSteel, True Crime King. It's my attorney, Peter Tickton. This is the attorney that you want between you and your problems. He's also Donald Trump's personal friend and attorney, as am I. And shout out to Peter Tickton and Francis Mota on the set of my new reality show. Thank you for joining.
Welcome to WilliamSteel, True Crime, and Steel Spotlight Television and Steel the Spotlight Public Relations. Now, if you need PR, look me up. You guys know how to find me. And we have a very special show today. We have my two co-hosts, Louis B., former mafia detective from New York City, did some of the biggest mafia cases going, and another New York City guy, Tommy Harding. Tommy was a gang member, mob enforcer, collector. He can clarify if I get any of it wrong or inaccurate, but he turned his life around. Incredible redemption story. So we had a great show the other day where we really got into it, especially these two guys, some reminiscing about the old days in New York City, you know, for us, the 80s, mid 80s, probably early 80s, late 70s. And so we're going to be taking you back in time to another place in time where, like I said, Louis is old school police officer, detective. He made a big case against the Gambinos and the Genoveses. And this is not his case. This is probably a previous arrest from Carlo Gambino. And let me see what else I could throw up here just to give you an idea of the era. So the 7th precinct, I believe that was Lower East Side. And so we all know 110 Rivington Street. And I'm trying to get this thing to move. So then he moved on, and this is the case where he made later in life. We're going to go back in time, even before this Operation Wasteland case, and we're going to go back in time to a time when Tommy was a street gang member, to a time when he moved forward and he was hanging out with celebrities like Franzo Lee and Ludacris and the Jackson brothers from, you know, Michael Jackson's brothers. So pretty cool, hanging out with them, bodyguarding for them, and all kinds of interesting things. So let me see if I can bring everybody on the screen at the same time. And thank you for joining, Louis B. and Tommy. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Right. It's a pleasure. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. So I showed some quick photographs. Guys, we at the end of the show, you guys kept talking and talking. I was like, man, that's got to be a show. So I don't even know how to begin this, and instead just let you two begin it. Like, what do you guys want to talk about from the 80s? What do you guys have in common from back then? We all were ripping and running the same streets, but for different reasons. So.
Well, let me just start this off by saying, my friend Louis, my new friend Louis, we spoke last night almost an hour and a half or something on the phone.
Oh yeah.
And we were reminiscing big time. And he sent me his documentary. And I sent him mine, and I was so excited to watch this, to watch this film. And when I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, this brings back so many memories. Giuliani, the district attorney, the police commissioner, Bratton, all of this kind of craziness. And then you have Louis and Victor, whom I know now from film, talking about the cases that they had against the carting companies affiliated with organized crime. Now, of course, I worked for organized crime back in the day, and I did work for some of the carting companies out there. One of the biggest carting companies that I worked for was called La Cavala. La Cavala, that was centered, they had their own landfill in the Bronx off of the 3rd Avenue Bridge. And I'm like freaking 19 years old. And we're getting calls to make certain pickups and certain dumps without being weighed in on the scale. I don't know why they didn't want us to go on a scale. It's not going to make a difference of what they got in the back of the truck by weight. But we were instructed, me and the other guy I was working with, Tommy Fino and Stephen Fino, the Fino brothers, they had a company called La Carta. La Carta in Italian just basically, I believe, means to pay, because they picked up corrugated, and just reminiscing and watching that film brought me back to that time. And I got to say, man, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal watching Victor and Louis discuss how hard the New York City Police Department. Listen, let me tell you this, right? I thought, being a criminal and dealing with all these thugs was something, of course, not ordinary. But listening to Louis and listening to Victor discuss how the police department was being run and how they were trying to handle the case, Operation Wasteland, just drug me right into that. And it was an incredible job what these guys did. And they were really, they got down to the nitty gritty with this. I watched it, and when I had to get up to go to the refrigerator, I paused it. I didn't want to miss anything, And I was very impressed of the knowledge that these guys had, and they were the supermen of the police department without question. So I applaud you for that, Louis.
Listen, my head is getting so big I can't leave this. I'm not going to be able to sit on the screen here.
It was amazing.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
Not a problem, brother. It was amazing. And just at that time when Louis was doing that, I was doing my thing out there in the street. I'm kind of glad there's me, right? Yeah, that's me. If you look at my left hand, I got a pinky ring and I'm black. This is like 17 years old, hanging out with the Italian girls. And a pinky ring. That picture.
Hey, and I had a Kangol and I'm white.
So do I.
And a sheepdog, right? Remember those?
Yes. That picture was taken at the end result, the social club, and I was the only man of color in there, and these guys treated me like family. And they for some reason, and don't ask me why, because I don't have the answer to this. They didn't care that I dated the white girls in that neighborhood at all. They had no problem with that because, there they go. There's Angela. Let me just say this very briefly. That's Angela on the left. I'm not going to say who the girl on the right is. I'm not going to say her name. She was in the other picture prior. I'm not going to mention her name. But Angela passed away. I love that woman. Angela passed away about 3 years ago.
Very sorry.
And she ran the streets with me. She was this Brooklyn badass girl, backing me up on no matter what I do, what I say. If somebody said something about me in the neighborhood, Angela would get a hold of me. Now, we didn't have cell phones or anything at that time, obviously, but we would meet on 54th Street, and she would tell me what anyone said about me. You can't talk bad about me in front of Angela. She was a big fan of mine, and I was a big fan of hers, and God rest her soul. And I was able to, after 40 years, get in contact with her prior to her death. And we were supposed to get together. I was coming out to New York to film, and we were supposed to get together, and she passed away in her sleep, and it broke my heart. But I just wanted to put her picture in there, and I'll never, ever forget her. She was an incredible person. And that picture that was taken at the social club with me running to the store, getting the guys liquor, whatever, sandwiches. They love sending. Let me tell you, Italians can eat, man. They got no different than black people. They love freaking eating. And they're very.
This is Angela, right? Again, I found it.
No, that's not Angela. That's not Angela. That's somebody else.
Let me go to the other one right
there's
there.
Angela. Angela's wearing the tube top.
Okay.
That's Angela wearing the tube. These two were the best of friends. And the other girl was connected with somebody that I just don't want to talk about right now because I just don't want to talk about them. But Angela was a very, 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 very dear friend of mine. But I'll tell you this much, man. I got to say, at that time, for a guy like me, for a guy, an African-American guy, to meet these guys were like heroes to me going into the club. And I felt like since I was the only man of color that I had, I was special. I was different. Now, again, I'm going to say this again. Not everybody liked that. Not everybody liked that. There was individuals that pulled me to the side, and there's hellfire. That's the. I don't know where you got that picture from, but that's hellfire.
We've been doing some research.
That's hellfire. That's the damn club that I work with Irish Jimmy. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. 212 number. Unbelievable.
The photos bring you back a little bit.
Yeah, that was, you got to understand something. That club was underground. In other words, it was all cobblestone. You guys should know this. All cobblestone on 14th Street and 9th and 10th Avenue. It's all cobblestone. And the club was underground. In other words, when you get into the club, you go into the doorway and you walk down about maybe two flights, and it was an incredible place. There's Ludacris doing the.
That's you with Ludacris. This is you with your autobiography.
Yes.
Everybody, check out our books. The holidays are coming. You know, you want a redemption turnaround story. Get Tommy's books. I got my books in here, and he writes children's books too now. And so, Louis, what do these images and stories mean to you? We're going to kind of bounce back and forth here. So Louis was a police officer. I believe it was 7th Precinct, Louis?
7th Precinct. That's what I did. My patrol function. I came out of the police academy and I was assigned there. And each borough via police department has several precincts in it. And each borough has what's known as a dumping ground. Mm-hmm. That's my narcotics team. That's the best group of guys I ever worked with. The gentleman all the way on the right with the mustache and the hat on, his name is Bill Ali. He taught me anything and everything about being an undercover. This was my anti-crime team working in the 7th Precinct. We worked in plain clothes, and we were there to prevent and deter violent street crimes in progress. We just ride around. This is me in uniform.
You see the 7th Precinct on the car. That's Rivington Street. Back in the days when you got started, for my audience, and we mentioned this before, you know, I was doing a lot of the wrong things, a little bit of this, and there was a famous address there, 110 Rivington, and we knew the same dealer / guy that was steering people in the wheelchair, and you had to run in with him because he had a very famous celebrity's purse, and you got it from him.
That's correct.
So I think it was Anne London or something like that.
Joan London.
Joan London. There you go.
I returned everything to her. These are stopping 2 people for a homicide.
There you go. So there's
there I am at gunpoint. Notice I'm very safe with that firearm. My finger is properly indexed.
Where's your ice pick, Louis? Where's the famous ice pick?
That's another story. We could tell that in a little while. This was my anti-crime team again. That's on the Williamsburg Bridge facing Delancey Street.
Gotcha. All right. So we have different images we're going to pull up so we can get this discussion going here. Let me see what else we got. Is this you and Vic?
This is Vic.
So you guys did Ocean Wasteland.
That's Dan the Man. He's a cinematographer. He does he makes the license plates for me and the coins. He did all the artwork for my shirts. He's a great, great guy.
So now Louis had 1 foot in organized crime when he was younger, I think. Anyway, family, this and that. And then the other foot, a ton of law enforcement. Your father was a police officer. You decided to go that route. And so Louis tells some stories. He tells it like it is, how policing was back in those days. And we have something here that they call the shampoo. What do you call it?
It's called a, go ahead. You can pop it up.
I'll find the image. Hang on. There you go. What is it? What is going on here, Louis?
Fine gentleman in the middle was a fighter. And he caught a wooden shampoo. And he got a Brooklyn party hat or a Bronx party hat. That's we called it a Brooklyn party hat. And when he went in front of the judge knew that this guy was a problem, and he got remanded. We had that working relationship. There was no fooling around. We didn't just randomly kick people's asses, but fear equals compliance. If you feared the police, okay, we had unwritten rules. Okay, we ran with those rules, and the bad guys did. And if you ran, you're getting hit. If you fought a cop, you're getting hit more. You're getting a good spanking. If you hurt a cop, you're going to the hospital. You're getting bedside arraignment.
You were the kind of cop back in those days that I would dread running into.
Actually, I walked Pitt Street, and a little kid nicknamed me Mighty Whitey.
All right.
Okay, and that name stuck with me for a long time. And actually, my present wife, Yvette, her family had a house on Pitt Street. The whole family lived there when they came from Puerto Rico. And her grandmother used to sit at the window and watch me operate. And when I was out there was no playing games. I would never, ever, ever flake anybody. That's it. Okay.
I found some images, Louis.
Yeah. That's Rivington Street. You said 110 Rivington. In front of 210 Rivington in August of 1985, I was walking down Pitt Street going back to the precinct. It's about 11:30 at night, and I hear a commotion going on. Now, it's the end of the tour. I just want to go home. It was August. It was a hot night, sweaty, dirty. And a lady said to me, there's a fight on the corner. So I didn't want to be bothered, and I heard a shot go off. So I stepped off into the street. Now I'm on Rivington Street between Pitt and Attorney, and I'm walking in the street going from car to car. I get to a van, and I'm looking through the driver's window, through the windshield to see what's happening. I can't see anything going on, but I see the area is clear. As I back up, a guy steps out from behind the van, lifts up his shirt, pulls a .357 and fires 3 rounds at me. I was shocked. The only thing I could think of is, I don't believe this is happening. And I could not stop blinking. So I pulled my gun, which was a 5-shot .38, and I turned to shoot at him. He's got his gun pointed at me. We got a Mexican standoff. And beyond him, I could see this woman who alerted me that there was a problem on the corner, holding her 2 kids. And I was afraid to return fire, because now this gun is shaking all over the place. And you move an inch to the right, and it's 3 feet off to hit the target. And I was afraid of shooting the kids, or the woman. And I did not return fire. But I got my asshole reamed by all the cops, and I would have did this, I would have did that. I did what I had to do, and I'm very proud that I did it that way, because I didn't get hurt, and I didn't hurt anybody. I could not deal with hurting an innocent bystander. I would put the gun in my mouth and pull the trigger. Not really.
It seems like, look, despite my past, I'm a big supporter of the blue. Most of my co-hosts are current former law enforcement, and it seems like you guys have a really thankless job. The bad guys, no matter how you arrest them, are going to accuse you of setting them up, planting evidence, lying on them, beating them up, and it might have been the cleanest arrest ever. So then when it really does happen, nobody believes anybody because everybody's lying.
I never had that problem, because that was, people knew. The people on the street know what kind of cop you are. Right. And see these guys here, this was a great bunch of guys I work with. The guy next to me, he was our sergeant. He was a big Irish guy. The other guy with the blue shirt on and the next to the sergeant, that's Jimmy Meehan. I still talk to him every couple of weeks. The other guy with the Met shirt on, that's Reed the Beard. He was a funny guy. And the last guy was Joey, and I was the best man at his wedding. That's how close we got.
This store here has been around forever. I found some old images. I don't know if you remember it, but they have a newer image, and then they have this old one. I don't remember this particular location. It's on Rivington Street, though.
Hey, Bill, I got to say something.
Go ahead, Tommy. Jump right in.
You said something a minute ago about Louis' job being a thankless job, right, to a lot of people. Well, there's another side to that coin. The lifestyle that you are having determines that. This is just my opinion.
Right, exactly.
When I was in that circle of mobsters, gangsters, criminals, whatever the case, I did not look at police officers as my friend. I wanted to be far away from them as much as possible. Follow what I'm saying? Right. So when years go by, when time went by, and I turned my life around and I became a bounty hunter, Louis just said something a few minutes ago that just made me realize that's exactly what I did. If you're going to make me chase you, you're going to make me run after you, by the time I get a hold of you, it all depending on how you're going to end up going to the police department or the sheriff's office, how that's going to happen. So when you're in the realm of criminology and doing all those types of things, you don't have no respect. It's not that you don't have no respect for the police. It's just that you don't want the police to get on their radar. You don't want them to be aware of you. So you try to just stay away from them, have no feelings for them whatsoever. But I got to tell you this, man, when the redemption kicked in after my prison and all of this stuff, being in a hospital, being almost murdered several different times, and I flipped my life around, I have the utmost respect for the police department. It is not a perfect scenario. There's nothing perfect on this planet. The only thing that was ever perfect was our Lord Jesus Christ. That was it. Other than that, there is nothing perfect. But we gotta have law and order. We have to have law and order.
Well, what we had back then were rules, street rules, unwritten rules. You understood us, we understood you.
Absolutely.
You know, I had my own rules. I policed the way my dad taught me. Okay. Tommy, you're under arrest. I'm doing whatever I can to put these handcuffs on. We can do it like a gentleman. Pick you up a cup of coffee when we hit to the precinct. You know, I got to do the paperwork. I'm going to get you out of here ASAP. The lieutenant on the desk is going to break my balls. I don't want him breaking my balls. So you make it easy for me, I make it easy for you.
Right.
All right. And I would never, once the cuffs are on, the beating stopped. I would never, ever, ever let another cop touch my prisoner. I would never let another cop disrespect my prisoner. That's who I was.
Right.
Okay.
And Tommy, in the same way, when you became a bounty hunter and you became really tight with the police, working hand in hand, you went nothing like everybody. You should know this. He went after the worst of the worst. These murderers and
VFOs, violent felony offenders.
There you go. So you look at shows like the Dog Bounty Hunter. You know, God bless him. You know, he's turned his life around too. But he's running around with a pellet gun. You know, air whatever. Like the pepper balls. Yeah, he's kind of strange for guys like us from New York, whatever. But he's doing Tommy, but he's going after people with misdemeanors and like minor felonies who jump on like a bad check, and then they're making it a whole series, and he became super famous. We're working on trying to put something together with him, and he's been working on it for a while. We're going to be collaborating and trying to sit down and really pitch his story, because his story is far more compelling than Dog the Bounty Hunter. You know, it just is.
One of the hardest things to do as a cop, okay, is this. Today, you want to kill me, and we duke it out and we do whatever we have to do on the street. Tomorrow, you may be the victim of a crime, and I have to give you 100% service. And I can't take that person. I would never think that people didn't like me because they didn't like me. They liked me because of the shield and the uniform that I represented. But
Right.
when they understood I was a regular guy, I got the worst drug dealers of the worst drug dealers, and I turned them into my friends. And this is the way I would do that. Okay. Now, if you're on a street and you're running a spot, there's a manager, there's a guy taking money, there's a couple of steerers out there, there's a guy holding product. Okay. What I would do is I would go to the dealer and I say, hey, listen, do you remember last Thursday? He's thinking now. I says, I was across the street in that building watching out the window, and I saw you had 3 bundles in your pocket and you handed them off to this. I'm lying. I said, listen, let me tell you something. I was going out bouncing that night. I had a cranker on the side that, you know, I was going to make it nice with her, and I gave you a play. That's what I did.
Right.
Because I was going to lock you up, and you had felony weight on you, okay? And I would have taken you, and I'm lying. And I said, listen, I gave you a play. Now you got to do me a favor. You know the Chinese lady who got hit across the head with the pipe in the back of the project over there? And she, you know, I said, you got to do me a favor. That could have been your mother, could have been my mother. Help me out. Find out who it is. Now, this is an organized crime tactic. I did you a favor, you got to do me a favor.
That's how it works.
And it was never anything personal. He knew if I got you, if I tagged you off base, I tagged you off base. Your job was not to get caught. My job was to catch you. But it was no big deal. They called me by my first name. Okay. One of the biggest compliments I got, I'm walking a prisoner into the precinct. You have to take him up to the desk he's got to be logged in. You know, I got him in, I got him handcuffed behind his back. They're taking out a bunch of prisoners going down the central book, and they're on a daisy chain. And one of the prisoners says to my prisoner, yo, B, what happened? He said, I got robbery, whatever he did, whatever the crime was. Where'd you get locked up? He said, I got locked up for possession. I think, okay. Who locked you up? This is this guy over here. Oh, that's Louis B. He's all right. He'll take care of you. How much better could it be?
Man,
Louis,
that's
who are your who are your girlfriends here? Right here, I'm just curious. You took care of them.
Listen, those were the hookers. I was in the cell with the hook. The hookers loved me. I treated them like gold. Okay.
Oh my God!
You know, how funny is that?
This is the opinion of my guest. We cannot. We wish
No,
these ladies.
listen. That happened in a 108 precinct in Queens. You don't know what I used to do to these prisoners. I locked them up. They want to smoke a cigarette in the cell. When I was working in Queens, we had.
They want to give you a freebie to take the handcuffs off. Who are you kidding?
With Colombians, nah. You never ever. That's way off base. They used to say, yeah, "Can I have a cigarette?" I used to fingerprint them. I want a cigarette. You got to give me 10. They go, "What?" Yeah, 10. Give me 10 jumping Jose's. A good prisoner is a healthy prisoner. I make them do 10 jumping jacks before I gave them a cigarette. They laugh their ass off. When I'm taking them out of the cells, I'd make them march past the desk. I go, their face, and he all turn and say, Do you want to say something to this nice desk officer? And he go, yes, sir. He take a step forward. We had such a good time today. We'd like to come back to next week or tomorrow. Everybody would laugh. I mean, you treat them like human beings.
In the end, you're laughing, but when the prisoner, because I've been there, thinks about it, you're like, what the frick am I laughing about? My life's turned upside down just now because of this guy who bought me a cup of coffee and was nice to me. You got me in social booking, which is pure hell for 3 days, 4 days of hell, overcrowded cells, people shooting up.
Listen, if you are a right guy,
oh my God.
Okay, a right guy. If sometimes people do things that they don't normally do, a little out of context, and a really good guy, if you're a cop's family, and I'm being honest with you, I would make sure that when I went down to Central Book and I put you in your own cell, I didn't put you into the pens where you had to be with other mutts. So I tried to make, listen, cops' kids are bad too. It's the way it is.
Now I'm going to give a little insight about that from my day of ripping and running, and then we can jump back to Tommy. Then I want you guys to talk about some of the things you both know from those streets. In my case, Louis, on the opposite side of that coin, when you were doing what you were doing, you were being nice to people. I knew a guy we'll call his nickname was Moonhead, right? He was high-speed chase, relatively speaking, in Coney Island with the police, a stolen car. He jumps out. They beat him half to death, break his bones. They throw him over into a junkyard, leave him there. They just, like he got away. They report that he got away. Guy's been on a cane in a wheelchair almost his entire life. So these days, the police do that. They're on camera. They're in prison. That guy's, sitting with $10 million in the bank, right? But those days, he couldn't prove it, even though the whole neighborhood saw it happen. But you can't prove it in those days. That was the 60th precinct. In my case, ran from a cop. I forget the circumstances. Let's say it was 1 a.m. through an alleyway in Brighton Beach. And back then, we're obviously a lot more fit. I lost that, but so I'm pretty fast. And this cop throws one of those blackjacks, the old school ones they're not allowed to carry anymore with the lead in it. The flat ones.
Oh, yeah.
That's a slapper.
He throws it at me, caught me right in the back. It stumbled me. I was like, fuck. And so, but I kept going, right? I got away. I go back there a few hours later before sunup, right? Go through the alley. I find it because I was thinking, well, maybe he didn't find it because he kept chasing me. And I found that thing. So I never got caught for that. Another time, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm driving a stick. I don't know how to drive it. I'm learning. 7:20 a.m. driving east into the sun towards A18 in Fort Lauderdale. Cops behind me, jurisdictionally marked car. He's got the marked car. The law down there requires lights and sirens activated and a certain speed before they can give you aggravated fleeing and eluding. In my case, I'm barely moving. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't notice him because he does not activate his sirens. So, but I saw the lights. I thought, oh shit. Pull over, and honestly, at that time, my pastor had some stuff on him, and we always agreed if we get pulled over, you're a hitchhiker. I'm giving you a ride up the road. So we're getting pulled over, and I said, "Hey, get rid of that shit. Do what you got to do." And you're a hitchhiker. So pull over. He pulls me over for cracking the windshield, but he thought I wasn't stopping for him. I opened the door to step out and apologize for not pulling over in time, not running. He's in a car with a big rubber bumper, and he rams me, crushes my leg against the open door. I have a massive scar in the front of my leg. My leg's bleeding everywhere. Thank God the bone didn't crack. And I'm stuck between that rubber bumper and the open door of this little truck. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You broke my leg. I'm freaking out. I'm bleeding everywhere. This guy, gunpoint, get on the ground, get on the ground. I said, get on the ground, my ass. I can't move. Back your car off and I'll do whatever you say. And so he got more and more aggressive. Then he tries to pull me down. He grabs me. In Florida, probably anywhere, you grab that cop, that's battery on a Leo. So he's trying to jerk me down, which probably would have tore my leg worse or broke it without moving the car first. And I braced myself on his arm and then on his chest. And I'm going like this with him. So I'm like, this is like escalating. He can't pull me down. He then hits me with pepper spray, backs up, hit me, and he goes, officer needs assistance. I said, 10-13. I said, officer needs assistance. I said, you need to just back your car up like 3 inches and let me lay down. What is wrong with you? No cameras in these days. So I get run over for a car stop, a nonviolent car stop, cracked window. They're not trained to break your leg or crush you with a police car. All those things could have sent him to prison if it was cameras. I get on the ground. His partner pulls up. I get cuffed up. The guy's Rambo, probably roided out, puts his knee in my back, grabs the cuff, punches me in the back, breaks 3 ribs. Now I've got pepper spray and gasping for air. So I've been the victim twice of police brutality that I couldn't prove. And that turned into a massive prison year sentence. It just kind of snowballed, and there was no way to prove it back then. It was 2000 in Fort Lauderdale. And so I've been a victim of that. And so I get what you're saying, and I've had other run-ins with the law, with the police or gentlemen. And in one case, I kind of turned the tables on them. They were investigating me for a lot of things. I'm not going to say where. And eventually they get me in a room, and, you know, the person I'm with, you know, I found out she's the one calling. And, you know, so she's but so they come, they get the hotel room middle of the day. So you guys know, you call fugitives, especially you, Tommy. So middle of the day in this hotel room, I'm probably on the 4th floor. All of a sudden I hear like 2 in the afternoon vacuuming in the hallway. That doesn't go on 2 in the afternoon. That goes on bright and early in the morning. They clean rooms and whatever. They start filling rooms again for the next day, right? So I'm hearing that. And it was a cover for them evacuating the rooms in that hallway. They were calling the rooms, telling them, hey, we got a police emergency, be quiet, walk towards the staircase. So they're evacuating the room, the floor. But they were covering the noise of that evacuation of the other people staying there by the vacuum.
Great idea.
Right. And so I knew something was up. I then looked down in the parking lot, and there was like an undercover looking car blocking people from coming or going from the parking lot. I looked up, there's a helicopter as far as I can see, and I'm like, I'm done. And I look at this chick, and I'm like, you fucking bitch, you know, it's not gonna end good, you know what I mean? So they start banging on the door, blah blah blah, open the door. So I open it, and my dumb ass has the remote control in my hand, right, opening the door. So, you know, that's an excuse, that the phones, right, to shoot somebody, you know, because spur of the moment, you guys don't know what I'm holding, right? You like, it could be a gun, and then that instantaneous, it's me or you, right? And you'll get away with it because you really didn't mean to do it, but you thought I had a gun. So they're coming in on me hardcore, blah blah blah. Drop the gun. I'm throw it down. Oh, it's a remote, and on the floor, blah blah blah. So what I did was they were just dragging me out of there, and I had a briefcase with my phone book in it, right? And they're dragging me out, this and that. And I said, hey, I got some cash and my phone book in my briefcase. And they're like, I'll let your girlfriend hold it. And I said, she's not my girlfriend. She's an acquaintance. And she was in the game too, like dealing and stuff, but she was evidently working as a CI. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'm in handcuffs. They got me standing now. They're milling around, a bunch of them. And I tell you what, when we get back, you're going to want to interview me, talk to me, right? I'm willing to talk to you, but I'm not saying shit if you leave that phone book with that girl, because I don't want anything left in this room. Are you willing to talk to us? I said, yes, sir. They grab the phone book. They bring me down, interview room, chain me to the back thing, right? And they put the tape recorder on, blah, blah, blah. And they said, you said you were willing to talk to us. They Mirandized me, right? And I said, absolutely. I said, let me call my lawyer first. We'll get him right down here. I'll talk to you. You guys know what that means, right? The second you mention lawyer, they're not going to. They have to end the interview. He turns it off, right? He says, you mother effer, you think you're slick? you told us you want to talk to us. We could turn all this shit off right now. And, whatever. They indicated they're going to beat the shit out of me if I didn't keep my word.
Like Joe Pesci said, I told you. I talked to you before. Go fuck yourself.
Right. I would talk to you, but under my circumstance with my attorney here, because he's not going to let me talk to you. Basically, I didn't say that, but I was trying to be very humble and not get beat up and not get my phone book trashed. So I said, okay, I'll talk to you, puts it on again. And I said, absolutely, I talked to you. I'm sorry, that you got pissed off and you had to turn the thing off the first time. I said, but yeah, I think I remember my attorney's number now. Let's just get him down here. I know I can get him here within 30 minutes. You mother effer. They turned the recording off again, grabbed me, threw me against the wall. Didn't really hit me, but roughed me up. And they said, now the phone book, it's not going with you to the jail where you can have it and make your phone calls. It's going into evidence. And the only way you're getting it back is if the prosecutor agrees and the judge releases it. So they put it in evidence. It took me a few months to get it back.
Wow.
But so, yeah, I've encountered cops that play both ways. And then you learn, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to glorify my past, but you learn kind of how to manipulate. If they have people separate, and they'll come back to you and tell you, hey, you might as well tell us everything. Your friend in the other room broke it down. He's trying to get a deal. You better save your ass. Knowing damn well that you either didn't do anything or that person's not going to talk. It's a game, and it's a game the police play. And in this country, they're allowed to lie to people. They're allowed to lie during the investigation, as long as when they get on the stand. And I was a law clerk in prison for many years in 3 different states, 18 years. As long as when they get on the stand and the police officers under oath, they tell the truth about why they had to lie to investigate the case. But they can lie, and there's other countries. I think Germany's one of them. Many countries. So I try to give you a broad perspective, where the police cannot lie at any stage of the investigation. They can't bluff you, lie, this, that. And I think you put people under a certain sort of duress or coercion when you got them convinced their mother told on them, not in my case, not my mom, but just that anybody close to them told on them, be like, and then they tell on themselves or make up a story to save the other family member. That's not a true confession. That's coercion. That's that's trying to save a family member.
No doubt. That's coercion.
Right. So can I tell you a funny story about that?
There's a certain wisdom in not allowing the police to lie, but it is done in this country, and I see the upside and I see the downside of that.
When we were doing narcotics work, okay, where they're selling drugs, we call it the set. Now, we don't want to spook the set. We'll go out, we'll lock up a bunch of people, okay, and then we'll leave. And then they go, we're not telling everybody they're getting arrested for narcotics. What are you arresting me for? Failure to pay homage to a police officer. What? Okay. Article 3, Section 4, Subdivision 38 of the Haberdashery Code. You're in possession of criminal attire. We'd make up mopery in the 3rd degree. They go, what? They have no idea. You just make up laws. What? You say that again? Failure to pay homage to a police officer. Now it's a felony.
The haberdashery.
Okay. I'll tell you.
Everybody who might not know, that's somebody who makes a hat.
Yeah.
Haberdasher. Real. This is another good story. It happened on 42nd Street. We lock up this guy. He's there with his girlfriend or whatever. Okay. Now, once a month, we took all the collars, all the arrests down to federal court. It was federal day. If the perps knew it was federal day, they would fight to run, because we had an agreement with the federal magistrates. Everybody got remanded, and they could send you to Wisconsin. They could send you all these prisons that are out of state. So we grab this guy and we lock him up. And he goes, black guy, what I arrested for? And this guy, Hector, says to him, shut the F up. That's what you're arrested for. So, no, you got to tell me what I'm arrested for. I know what my rights are. He goes, all right, you know what you were doing. You were acting in concert. So the guy don't say anything. Okay, he gets locked up. We process him. We take him down to the federal courthouse. And you got 2 hours to get him down, or 3 hours, whatever the hell it was. So we had to do everything real quick. We get him down in front of the magistrate, because we're using federal laws now. And the judge says, sir, you've been arrested for 22016 criminal seal controlled substance in the whatever degree. How do you plead? He goes, not guilty. It's okay. You have anything to say? He says, yes. Johanna, on the day in question per se, I was hanging on the deuce, chilling with my biddy. And the police, they came over there and they locked me up. When I asked them what I'd be arrested for, they said I was acting in concerts. Now, I don't sing, I don't dance, and I don't play no instruments. How could I be acting in concerts? The courtroom went berserk. That was a classic.
It reminds me of the guys in prison who used to say instead they're part of the penile system.
The penile, yeah.
Oh my God, white and black. I mean, just unfortunately, people that get in trouble for the most part are not that educated. I happen to have some college and I was an altar boy and I went to private schools and look how I turned out. So,
well, you know the people that are slick. They get arrested, they say nothing, you fingerprint them, they go in the jail cell and they go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah, I was a quiet guy until what happened with me. I think my first most violent thing that happened to me to get me involved. I did small stuff at the beginning on Flatbush Avenue when I was working in concert with organized crime. I was going into meat stores and walking into the meat store and getting a shopping cart and offering them protection. I was throwing meat in the shopping cart with me and my friend Richie Franza and Robert Franza, getting a whole shopping cart full of meat and go up to the front and tell the guy I'm not paying for shit. And if you want to keep your store going, it's best for you to pay us. Asking at that time was about $1,000 a week. And he was scared to death, him and his wife, because his wife would be yelling at me. She would be yelling and I would be like threatening him. I'm going to come back. I'm going to burn the fucking store down and stuff like that. So I started off with small stuff. I thought I was a big shot. I thought I was a badass. And then I met this guy named Francis Alvino. They call him Frankie Bags, Francis Alvino. This guy terrified me. He was basically, I'm using a police word. He was assigned to me by Jimmy, and so we could run a protection racket in Lower Manhattan, and also Brooklyn. We collected from a lot of Spanish clubs in Brooklyn. One evening, when I met Frankie, he didn't kind of take to me at the beginning. He's basically, if I had to say what he was thinking, he was like, "What is this nigga doing with me?" You know. And he made some words with Jimmy, and Jimmy told him, "No, Tom, he's smart, he's big, he's strong. You need this guy," because Frankie Bags was like kind of a short guy, and he had like a little pudgy stomach, but he always wore these nice freaking suits, man. He was always, I mean, this guy was dressed to the T, you know. And I'm wearing jeans and a leather jacket, but this guy was like, he looked like the Don. He wanted to be a Don, this guy, and in his mind. And we go to make a collection and offer under the BQE in Brooklyn at this Spanish club. And I got a gun, and he just basically tells me, "Tommy, when we go in here, right, you stand by the door and don't let nobody in," right? So we go inside the club, right, get into the guy's office, and I'm standing by the office door, and I'm not letting anybody in, and Frankie's having some words with him. And the bottom line to that, he was not giving us what we needed, the money that he was supposed to be paying us. Frankie pulls out a freaking gun, puts it to his head, and he grabs a bag out of his jacket, a fucking Glad bag out of his jacket, right? And he tells the guy, put your hand in the bag, put your fucking hand in the bag. And he was very, when Frankie gets angry, he looks like he starts to sweat. And I'm saying to myself, he's going to kill him. I'm going to witness him killing him. And then I'm young. Frankie's going to kill me, because I could tell by the way that he didn't want to really work with me. He's going to kill us both. So I got a gun on me. I'm saying, if Frankie shoots him, I'm going to shoot Frankie. I'm dead anyway. At least I'm going to give myself a chance, because I was scared to death. Honestly, that was the first time I've ever seen anything like that. And let me tell you something. The guy put his hand in the freaking bag, screaming and yelling. And Frankie told him, he called me over. Then he called me over, "Tommy, if he fucking moves, shoot him. Put one in him." And I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? I didn't know. I'm saying this to myself. What do I do? How do I get out of this? I got to follow what he's telling me to do. I got to make Jimmy happy. I got to make sure this guy doesn't kill me. So I got all these different emotions going on inside of me. Then Frankie starts looking around, going through the drawers and stuff, whatever. And the guy said, "Don't move your hand. Don't move your fucking hand off the table. Tommy, if he moves, shoot him." I'm standing there with the gun pointed at him, not knowing what I'm going to do at all. Scared to death. Teenager scared to death. All of a sudden, Frankie finds a hammer. Comes back to the desk where the guy has him. He tells him, "Man, you move your fucking hand. You move your hand, you're dead." The guy did not try to lunge at us. He didn't try to do anything. He basically looked like he was starting to cry. To be honest with you, he was scared to death. Frankie raised that hand. Bam! Comes down, hits his hand in the bag. Now I know why Frankie put the bag on him, because when he hit the bag like almost exploded with blood. Come to find out later that Frankie does that because he didn't want to get any blood on his clothes. And after he did that, the guy fell to the damn floor. He fell to the damn floor, and then Frankie's yelling at me, pick him up, I'm going to hit him again, pick him up. So I'm picking him up. I'm trying to grab the guy to pick him up, and I'm nervous. I got my gun in my hand. I'm picking him up, and I'm putting him back on the table. He's begging, please, man, please, I'll pay you, whatever the case may be. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I got to do what this guy says again. I'm going out of my fucking mind, being terrified. Hits him again. After he hits him for that second time, this guy is screaming so loud, I had to put my hand over his mouth, and Frankie's laughing, going through everything, looking for money. And then the guy comes out and he says, man, it's in that drawer. You find they got everything to take it. I don't know why the individual didn't just tell him and pay him at the beginning. So maybe that would not have happened. I don't know. I don't have a clue. But after that happened and we're getting ready to walk out, Frankie tells him, listen, when you get back from the hospital, we're going to be back next weekend. All right. Don't make me do this again, because then I'll cut your arm off. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm walking out. I'm like, what do? We get to the car, and Frankie's laughing all the way to the car. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of this life? How am I going to get away from this guy? That's going to stay with me forever. To this day, when I talk about it, I get the chills because I remember that evening. Now, Frank, he was murdered about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half later. Frankie, he was murdered really bad. They found him in a trunk in Brooklyn. He's been in that trunk for quite some time. And it was the summertime too. And I worked with him for a while after that, maybe 6 or 7 months. And then he got bumped up doing some stuff. And I never seen him until I heard about that he was murdered. And that was the beginning of the violence. So that's nothing, some of the things that I've seen working for these people. But what the turnaround for that for me, here's the turnaround for that for me. What maybe after I went to prison, after I dealt with all of this crazy shit, people wanting to kill me all the time and dealing with Rikers Island upstate and all of this stuff. And I got out finally in 1998, had to change my life around. And that's when I met Troy Thompson, the bail bondsman. I sent you a picture of me in a bail bonding office, I believe, with one of my partners.
I'm trying to see if I can find it, because I think I saw
yeah.
It might not have made it in the thing. It might not have made it in the queue, but I can put it up.
That's fine. The turnaround, Louis and Bill, for me is I was a fugitive for some other warrants in 1998, and I'm dating this girl, which is the mother of my child, and we get into the car to go to the food line, the supermarket, and all of a sudden, when Bill mentioned this a little while ago, he said a helicopter. You mentioned a helicopter. That's what I heard when we got into the car. I heard a helicopter, and I look out the window, and I see a helicopter, and then all of a sudden, I see every fucking police car possibly in Fayetteville. Every car surrounded us. After we pulled into the Food Lion driveway, didn't even get out the car. Didn't let us out the car, and they got on a loudspeaker telling me, Tommy, we know it's you. And step out of the vehicle, put your hands up. And I said, and I turned to look at my girl. She was pregnant. She was like 8 months pregnant. I told her, like I said, you didn't call the cops on me, because she was pissed off at me the night before. I said, you didn't call the cops. And she starts saying, no. She starts crying. I said, all right, it wasn't her. I stuck my hands out, got out the car. And they knew it was me. They knew it was, as soon as I got out the car, that's fucking Tommy,
Right.
And I'm like, when they got me in cuffs, I said, why did you have every fucking cop in Fayetteville surround me like that? He says, we've been following you for 3 days. They got the people out of the neighbor's house that we were staying at. They evacuated them, and they were watching me with binoculars. But she had 2 kids. She had 2 children. My girlfriend had 2 children, and they were afraid to approach me because every time I was out in the yard by the pool or something, I was playing with the kids.
Right.
So the kids were with me all the time. When we went to the supermarket, the kids weren't with me. They were with her girlfriend at the house. And that's when they waited 3 days for that. He said 3 days. And we wanted to get me by myself. And I said, well, I appreciate that. And then they actually, the way that Lou talks and the way that the officer, that they were trying to be badass with me at the beginning. And then all of a sudden, right, they take me down to Cumberland County Jail in Fayetteville, and they start talking to me. He said, you seem like a nice guy. They were talking. We were having a nice conversation.
Most people are, you're a human being.
Just talking. They were like, Man, we thought we were going to have a shootout with you. You know,
They
we
thought
read
you
your
were
jacket. We know what you did. We know who you are. And
They thought you wanted to hold court in the street, right? They thought you were going to hold court in the street. What's what year are we talking about that?
Oh shit, that was 1998. That was 1998. But here's the thing.
That was the beginning of the wake up for you, right?
That was the beginning of the wake up, right?
Okay.
But when they did that, they said, "How come you didn't fight?" How come? I said, "Because you guys didn't do anything to me. You're not in the circle of criminals that I deal with. You know what I'm saying? I don't have anything against you. You were doing your job. Okay, right. You caught me. The gig's up. you caught me. You know what I'm saying? And
it's not personal. It's nothing personal. You don't take it personal.
Exactly. The warden at the Cumberland County Jail, right? I've never been in there. But I know how jail is. The bottom line is I had to flip the switch to patience, slow justice, because everything's going to take time. He told me, he said, well, if they don't come for you, if they don't extradite you in 30 days, I'm going to let you go because there's no warrants for you in the state of North Carolina. And I said, the motherfuckers going to be here in 2 days. The motherfuckers came the next day. They were there the next day. They flew out that night, right? That night got me. And it was a little argument, right? It was a little, not with me, with the officers, but with the officers with the airline. Because when we were going on the plane, they wanted to take a plane from Fayetteville Airport. Right. And they had me handcuffed. And the pilot was standing out by his door. And he says, he can't be handcuffed on the plane. He cannot be handcuffed. And the officer was saying to him, well, he's a prisoner. Yeah, but he can't be handcuffed on a plane. So you're gonna have to handcuff him, or you're gonna have to find another way to your destination.
I got extradited from Las Vegas in the 80s, and the detectives that were looking for me in Brooklyn, when they came to the jail the day they got there, I told them, okay, you ready to go back? You didn't fight, you signed, you waived extradition, the UCEA, Uniform Criminal Extradition Act. So I waived, right? And they came to get me, blah, blah, blah. And this is one of the guys I had a foot chase with in Brooklyn, right? He's complaining that he destroyed his new shoes. But anyway, so I remembered all this. It was like 3 years later. So I'm out there, I'm dealing coke, I'm doing burglaries, I'm doing a TV show called Crime Story with Dennis Farina, Andrew Dice Clay. I'm dealing coke on the set of Crime Story. I'm offered a part in Miami Vice if I want to go back to Miami. And I just hit Nick Navarro's house, the sheriff of Broward County, founder with the cops program. So the gray-haired Cuban guy, bad boys. So I just hit his house. I got some stuff out of his house that he shouldn't have had. And so like, oh man, these people are going to kill me when they catch me, because he was always suspected. And I found a half a key in the house. So I took off right after that. I was living with a bunch of chicks from Ireland. We all took off to California, then Vegas. So 3 years out, they come to get me, and the same thing. First of all, I told these detectives, I said, okay, look, I'm sorry about your shoes. You chased me 3 years ago. I've been here. You've been telling everybody you're going to beat the shit out of me because I destroyed your shoes. It was like raining and sleeting the day you chased me. And he said, yeah, you're fast, man. You're hitting those fences. My brand new shoes. And I said, do me a favor. Vegas is built on losers, not winners. While you're here, because the flight was like in 2 days or something, they got 2 days to kill. I said, do not gamble. Go enjoy the shows, the free food, this, that, whatever. You gamble, you're gonna take it out on me when you lose your personal money, and it's gonna not be nice for me because you had to come out here to get me. It's a nice town. Just enjoy the shows. Don't gamble. They come get me. One of them is livid. He lost like $8,000.
Oh boy.
So the same thing with the plane, Tommy. We get to the airport. I think I don't know what it's called these days, but back then McCarran Airport is probably the same, right?
Yes. So pre 9/11. So they had the door open to the cockpit and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. So it was we get on there, I'm cuffed hand and foot. I got the leg irons, I got the thing in front of me. Same thing. They said when he's seated, all the way in the back of the plane against the window.
Put him against the window. That's what they did with me.
Yeah, and so same thing, but they leave the leg irons on. At least they did with me, because I was good at escaping. I looked at it this way: first obligation as a prisoner back in those days, and I'm not trying to glorify my past. Now I'm grateful to God that I have a changed life. My first obligation is to escape at all costs without hurting anybody. I was good at picking locks. I was good at getting out of handcuffs, and so and later on I did it. I escaped from prison, ended up on America's Most Wanted. So you have to read my books to find that out. And Tommy's got his book out, autobiography. I've got a few books out. Let me just get to some of this real quick, a little promotion for all of us. Louis coming out with a book. He's got a documentary, Wasteland.
I know. I saw that documentary.
Yep. So
Bill, did you watch it?
I'm in this show, right? Yes, I did. I love this. I love it. It's
Awesome.
very well. It's very well done, like yours. And shout out to the people that made it. And so this is the show I'm on A&E. It's now on Hulu. It's about getting out of prison, getting on your feet. I'm blessed to have like millions and tens of millions of fans. And I announced sort of seriously and probably seriously that I'm running for president in 2028 because I don't want to go against Trump, right? So I have over 1 million fans said they'd vote for me, and they still get it. Like even yesterday, 3 people when they heard about it. So we support this guy at the moment. So.
I got my Boomer Star Joe hat.
I'm going to try an experiment here. I was trying to throw up a book trailer that shows some of the books I wrote, and I don't know if I'd have to put it in post-production or now because I'm just learning this program. Let me see if I can play this. It might take like a minute or two. Let me see what happens.
All right.
Nothing playing, right?
Hey Lou, man, you gotta get Vic on the show, man. You gotta figure something out there, man.
I'll reach out to him. We'll do one. He just had a hip replacement, so he's home convalescing. You want to see something funny? You have to see him and I interact.
That's what I want to see. I seen it in your documentary. I seen the way you guys work.
Oh man, they beat the hell out of me. I call the house. He'll go to his wife. Who is it? It's Louis. Hang it up. I don't want to talk to him. Because I like to talk. I'm sorry.
You guys did the documentary is very informative. It was very informative. You know, being from New York, come on.
You know what's sad? Let me tell you what's sad. And one of the reasons why we did that documentary, that particular team of people, they were characters. Okay. And they were all good detectives, but we were all stuck in a team. This was a punishment team. We were doing penance. And you talk about how bad this lieutenant, who was an Irish lieutenant, treated us like dog shit. They put us in what's known as a plant. A plant is a place where you do a wiretap. We were in a building opposite 511 Canal Street. It was a warehouse. There had to be 2 inches of dust on the floor. There were rats and roaches. We did not have one typewriter for 10 people. We didn't have a bathroom to use, and this guy just treated us like shit. And you know what? He got promoted off the case. That's what.
Where's he now, Louis? What's his address?
He's dead. He's pushing pansies. Okay. I don't want to beat the guy up because he has passed on. He never hurt me per se. Okay. Because he was a little afraid of me. See, if you listen,
he was a lot afraid of you. I think he was a lot afraid.
Well, they thought I was a loose cannon. When you're a barking dog doesn't have to bite. You just got to growl a lot. And they knew I wasn't afraid. I had my ways of policing. I did what I had to do. If you were my boss and you said, we got to get this guy, he's in the building, you don't know, you have no idea what kind of stuff I did when I was a narcotics detective. I did things that nobody else did. They would.
I know that's all going to be in your book, man. So
my book is a different story. It's fiction based on fact. But some of the things I did, I learned from my dad. Okay, when he had to get into a building to do an investigation, he made believe he worked from the Department of Welfare. They never beat up a white guy in a suit with a briefcase because the welfare guy was going to help them out. Louis,
hold that thought because we're at 58 minutes, and
okay.
I think we didn't use F-bomb that much. I could probably take them out, use this for the TV show, but I want to wrap this up, but keep recording, and then we're going to get into some war stories if you guys have time and what you guys know.
Yeah.
Right. So look, everybody, I'm going to put this up on the screen. That's my producer, Joe Ruza, from Inmate to Roommate on A&E. It's now on Hulu. It's about getting out of prison, living with people who aren't your family. It became the second highest rated show on television. It's the holidays. Check out my true crime books. Tommy's book, I showed it on the screen earlier. We have some really good co-hosts here. We've got the former ATF agent, Ignacio Esteban. So, guys, we're going to wrap this show real quick. I'm going to write down the timestamp and then give me a second to roll right into the other one. And so, guys, thank you for joining. And
Very
listen,
much
stay tuned. Stay tuned to Steal the Spotlight Television. It's one of the most popular cable shows in the Midwest. And I'm blessed to be the executive producer and the host. That's my show. So I submit these with some other things in them, and it's similar. But so we got Tommy, former gang member, mobster, enforcer, turned his life around. Now he's writing children's books, helping people. Louis
Oh, yeah.
Buster, Mafia detective. God bless you guys for coming back. We're going to wrap this show. Thank you for joining us.
God bless you guys as well.
Toilet paper rolls have disappeared at the rate of about one a day.
Who the hell keeps a ledger of somebody else's toilet paper use?
He's going to use whatever he wants. He's going to do whatever he wants. I'm done with this.
It's time to end this charade because I've bitten my tongue for far too long.
All right, rolling.
William Steele, True Crime King. It's my attorney, Peter Tickton. This is the attorney that you want between you and your problems. He's also Donald Trump's personal friend and attorney, as am I. And shout out to Peter Tickton and Francis Mota on the set of my new reality show. Thank you for joining.